Hi everyone, and welcome to the FilmDirt Lounge. Well, I've taken a look at another documentary. This is RoboDoc. The first 4 episodes cover the first Robocop movie, that classic in '87, not the remake. And they've made a couple of additional documentaries covering the 2 sequels. I'll probably come back to look at those as well, because this one was just awesome. For me, that first Robocop film has got to be one of the greatest films ever made, surely. And it's not the fact that it was full of awesome 80s sensibilities and masculinity and gunfire and blood. It was bordering on a character study for me. If you could just look past the title and the social commentary and comedy, it was just really looking at the man trapped in a machine. When I reviewed this film a short while ago on this channel, I did go into a bit more about how much it meant to me. I was a child at the time, and I admitted watching the film underage when I was supposed to be in school, I think I was. It was just the film of my childhood, and I've loved it for that ever since. Now, what I also love are making of documentaries. I've always found them fascinating. Possibly also when I was a child, when one would come up on TV. I would just be intrigued at that whole creative process. I just love to see the day-to-day life of what it's like on a set. So what this documentary does for me is it just rekindles that fascination of looking behind the curtain, as it were, not necessarily just behind the scenes, but looking at the warts and all, all the dirt that was involved, and the arguments and things maybe you wouldn't see in a standard documentary that would be on a disc 2, released officially with the film. This is a fan documentary, so I think we do get a little bit of dirt, I guess. And they've gone really above and beyond what could be considered as a fan project. This looks like a very professional production. They've got all the significant cast, that at least the ones I could remember. I doubt there's anyone missed out here. And because the film was made so long ago, some of the missing key people here are sadly no longer with us, and that is a real shame. You just wonder, how can this film be released so long ago and nothing has come close to it, in my view anyway. So it was directed by Christopher Griffiths and Eastwood Allen. And I'd really like to see what other documentaries or other projects they've got ongoing, because this is really well put together. There's some good intros, some good graphics, and I love the intro with all the robo parts being assembled. It's all in a animated style, but I love that. It brings it some gravitas. So of course lots of great sound bites, lots of great interviews. Ed Neumeier of course is here. So the main cast, Peter Weller is awesome. I heard that they had trouble getting Peter Weller at first, and it took a while maybe to convince him. I think he's maybe got tired of talking about the same movie, but he should embrace it. This is on his resume, and once you get past the title, this is an awesome movie. Every person here is filmed in front of a blue screen, and that's an interesting choice. And once you see why they did that, you can appreciate that decision. But the interactive backgrounds kind of allows them to put the talking heads in a situation where they want to put them. And it just makes everything flow a bit more seamlessly, because it seems like they've interviewed everyone over the course of several years. This is a long time in development, I heard. So there's nothing jarring, jumping out at you that's a different setting. It all looks like a backdrop of the steel mill. So while part 1 did go into the actual initiation of the project and Peter Weller and the rest of the main cast, part 2 is definitely my favourite, because it looks at the Boddicker gang. And I really hated those when I first saw the movie. You just wanted Robocop to get revenge on these guys. And they're just really good actors, and I enjoyed hearing their side of the story. And there's so much information here, and it spirals into another 2 parts, 4 parts in total, and it's all just fantastic. Now, as I said earlier, I do find these documentaries really interesting. I would just be transfixed. Now, I remember seeing there was one for, I think it was something like Lethal Weapon or Terminator 2 probably, and just seeing the process and the effort it takes to make a movie, it really made me want to be part of the film industry. But there's some documentaries that really weren't that good at all. Now, it is a subject that interests me, so I have seen a lot of the making of or retrospective documentaries like this one made after a film has been made. I think one of the worst I've ever seen was Superman Returns. I did speak about this in my review of that film. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was just full of people talking to camera, and they were playing up to the camera, and there were certain people playing jokes on each other and distracted by the making of crew being there. You just want to see them making a movie. You don't want to see them talking to camera. Well, I don't anyway. I just want to see that process. And there was another one as well. I think it was Batman Forever. There was one special that they made. I don't know if it was the actual making of for that. Just clips from the movie. We've seen the movie. We just want to see how they made it. And it shouldn't have been called the making of Batman Forever. Just ridiculous, and just to fill time or waste time in this instance. Now, the best making of documentary I've seen out of every film supplement I've seen is the one for Star Wars The Phantom Menace. You can watch that documentary even if you're not into Star Wars, and it does exactly what it should. It walks you through the day-to-day life. There's even portions illustrating the costume process and the extras coming in to get suited up and measured. You've got telephone calls being made, and you've got the stunt training. So while I've deviated slightly from RoboDoc, I put that in the same bracket. It's almost a fantastic production in its own right. The effort that went into this to track down everyone from a 30, 40-year-old movie, however long it's been. And I noticed that Peter Weller, he's quite self-depreciating in this. He did say he was a pain and why he was a pain. He wanted to get into that character, and it must have been, or it looked like it was a very distressing shoot, and at times how troubled the production was. So I love this. Very informative. You can just get immersed in this. And it's the last word, I think, for this movie. Everything that needs to be said about Robocop has now been said. This definitely gets all 5 stars from me. What a fantastic documentary of a fantastic film. And I'm glad it's going to continue covering Robocops 2 and 3. I didn't mind either of them. They were decent movies. For all their faults, I liked them both equally for probably different reasons. I know the second movie had some drama behind it. They fired the original director, and Nancy Allen didn't get on with Irvin Kershner. The story by Frank Miller was just weird, and I heard they split it into parts 2 and 3, so Robocop 3 has some elements of it. And that's another story in its own right, with having to reduce the age certificate. That was the film that was supposed to save Orion from going bankrupt, wasn't it? So it didn't in the end, did it? It was just too late. And Robocop 3 took another 2 years to come out, because I remember there was a 3D video game, and I saw posters as well for it, with scenes from the movie. I'm wondering where this movie is. So it's just a shame Orion went bankrupt, because that initial logo at the front of every film they did, it's almost iconic, isn't it, when you see the stars aligned to form the O. I'm looking to see a bit more of the backstory behind the studio's lifespan in the next couple of parts, so I may come back here and review the other 2 as well. In the meantime, thanks for listening to this review. I'll speak to you about movies again very soon. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. It was great speaking to you. All the best. Take care.